All right, it is 7:02, and I'm going to kick off the Sanborn Regional School District Budget Committee meeting. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With us today, we have Brooks, Micah, Terry, myself, and Pam. Dan and Amanda had let me know that they had some other commitments, and it sounds like Ken also. So that is attendance. The meeting minutes for December 5th went out in email. Thank you, Summer, for sending them. Are there any comments or edits needed? If not, we'll need a
Move to approve.
any seconds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, awesome. Meeting minutes from December 5th approved. Anything from the school board, Micah?
We haven't met since last time we spoke, I don't think.
Okay.
Or maybe we have. Did we?
Well, we met on the 18th. That's when we reviewed the warrant articles.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I get my dates confused. Yeah. So we reviewed the warrant articles and the school board voted to,
I have the results.
you
here.
have
You
them,
don't
yeah.
have to. Yeah, we're actually gonna share them. I've made paper copies for people.
okay. So we did things with the warrant articles. And that was pretty much
Yeah, we had a couple of.
Already.
You voted on them, but there are a couple where, for instance, there's some wording changes, maybe
Yep.
just slight tweaks that we made. But we have the school board's vote, and yeah.
Quick update from the school board.
Yep.
For warrant articles, Matt, if you want to pass out, you've made
Yep.
some paper copies for us to take a peek at.
Yeah, this might be easier for people.
I would normally say that we vote, but as we're short 3 people,
Thanks.
how do we feel about delaying the vote to the public hearing, or do we think that we should just do it with the 5 people? I just want to know. Good one. Okay. Yep. Okay. As long as that was my vote, but I want to make sure. So we're going to delay the voting, but
And that's fine because the signed warrant articles don't have to be uploaded to the DRA, the Department of Revenue, until the last Monday in January,
okay.
which is well after the budget hearing. So we can wait.
So my plan would be I'll have Phyllis and I'll put together an agenda for after the public hearing for us to do a quick meeting and vote on the warrant articles then. And then we wouldn't have to meet again in theory, unless something else happens until our deliberative. Okay. So Matt, if you want us to give a Micah,
Yeah, no. Yeah, no,
articles, that would be great.
yeah, no, I can do that. And I know at our previous meeting, we discussed the operating budget and you all voted on that. So really Articles 1 and 2 are not really for much discussion. They don't have any budgetary implications. You've already voted on Article 3. And just so you know, when we get to our budget presentation that Courtney and I worked on, and then we're going to finalize tonight, the warrant articles included in the budget presentation are the ones that only have like a budgetary, like a tax implication. It didn't include things that didn't impact the taxpayers. So with respect to the warrant articles that I've shared with you, we can skip 1, 2, and 3 because we've already discussed Articles 3, and 1 and 2 don't have a tax implication. Article 4 is the support staff collective bargaining agreement. Just because someone at home may be watching, I will read it because it's pretty quick to read, and then I'll take any questions. We don't have the finalized CBA yet back from our attorney. I was part of the negotiations, so I can certainly fill people in on what happened with salary schedules or benefits or anything, just so you can understand where the increases came from for years 1, 2, and 3. So with that said, the Article 4 reads, shall the Sanborn Regional School District approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement for support staff reached between the school board and the Sanborn Regional Education Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at current staffing levels. For year 2025-26, $178,140. For FY 26-27, $108,116. And for fiscal year 27-28, $114,145. And further to raise and appropriate the sum of $178,140 for the 2025-26, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those at current staffing levels. The school board voted in favor 7, 0 opposed. The tax impact of this CBA for Kingston would be 7 cents per $1,000, and for Newton would be 12 cents per $1,000. And for all you who watched the last school board meeting, I made a comment at the end, but it wasn't caught on camera because it wasn't being recorded at that time. But that tax impact was correct. And Micah, I think at the end of the meeting, I pointed that out because initially there's a question, why was Newton's more than Kingston's? And it had to do with the valuation. Newton hasn't reappraised recently, so their property value is about half of Kingston's. Once that appraisal happens and the values are similar, because this tax impact, you strip out everything, revenues and everything, it's just strictly, valuation. So, that's why Newton has a higher tax impact, because they have lower property values at the moment, which is just based on the fact they haven't reappraised recently. But are there any questions on that article? And again, I'm certainly happy to give some background since you don't have the actual CBA to look at.
I had just a couple of questions here. First of all, is this the result of the negotiations, the contract that was signed last year?
No.
That was for, or is this in addition to?
This is for the what we call the Unit 2 support staff. So last year was for the professional staff,
Okay.
teachers, and then teachers, case managers, school counselors. This is for the Unit 2 staff, include any type of administrative assistant, secretary, and then all the paraprofessionals. So there's about 70 paraprofessionals, and no, there's about 70 total. So I want to say there were maybe 15 to 20 administrative assistants and about 50 paraprofessionals in this group.
And what is the significance of the school year, academic year of 2025 is 178 and the academic year of 26 is 108?
Yep.
And that's future, where you don't know how many employees you're going to have. And
But it's based on the current group. So it was actual apples to apples. Like if this group of people that we have now are all here next year,
Mhm.
and they all move up the salary scale one step, and this passes, what would it cost us in terms of salary and benefits? And the objective of this negotiation was to get the bottom up to attract paraprofessionals to our district. I'm looking at my notes here. There are actually 4 different groups of paraprofessionals based on their education. If you have like an associate's, bachelor's, master's, or something higher. So the least paid paraprofessional at step 1 in the district this year could be making $15.87 an hour. The goal was to get that close to $18 an hour to make us really competitive with area schools. We got it to, and we went through about close to 20 different variations. I've got the spreadsheet to show you if you want to see it. We got it to $17.90 for that. So it went from $15.87 to $17.90 for the lowest paid paraprofessional, which based on what we know about surrounding districts makes us really attractive in terms of drawing in paraprofessionals, retaining them. Nothing changed with benefits, nothing changed with health insurance. It was just strictly getting that base up. Everybody did not get the same pay bump. The people at the very bottom, if you're somebody who is on step one, I'm say you by that person may be seeing 10, 12% pay bump next year because they're going from 1587 to close to $18. But someone in a different group, because there's like 8 different groups within this salary scale, may have seen a 4.5% pay bump.
And I just want to mention all those people that first year that get that pay bump are not in that first level the next year, which is why the next year's cost might be different.
Yep.
Right.
Not trying to capture the.
Because you're not catching up.
Once we readjusted that scale for the 25-26 year, after that, it's 3% for everybody. It's a 3% kind of where inflation's been.
We did a
more or
similar,
less.
well, we did a, not similar, but kind of the same thing with the teacher contract, the one that you were referring to.
Well, I knew Tom
we-
was trying to pad it.
Right
trying to-
size, yeah. Had it on the bottom,
Wow.
but also we structured it such that the largest, the highest amount of money in the, I think it was the second year.
Yeah.
Was timed when the bond would come off the high school.
Mm.
Right. So there was, you can structure it in ways that are, make it advantageous for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Do you have any other comments? No, I think that covers what I was going to provide for comments, but I mean, we were pretty happy with how it came out, and I think it's going to do a lot to attracting paras, because we have a hard time attracting paras. Once we get them, we seem to really keep paras. Paras want to work in our district, but attracting them is a hard thing, because if they can go somewhere else and make another $2 an hour, they're going to do that. I think every district around us is hiring paras. So now this is going to make us much more attractive. And again, we're not voting tonight. So,
No, there were good questions. Terry, thank you.
and I know,
I don't have a question, but I just have a statement to say about that. I just actually kind of surprised at how low the pay is for the bottom paraprofessional. I just want to, put out there. Stopped at Dunk's to go grab a coffee a couple days ago, and they had a sign in the window that says $15 an hour. I mean, if they're hiring $15 an hour for somebody who doesn't need any skills to pour coffee, our paraprofessionals should be taken care of a little bit better than that, So.
no, I think about it too. I have friends whose kids work at Market Basket, and Market Basket, New Hampshire pays what Market Basket, Massachusetts pays, which is $15 an hour.
There you
So
go.
anybody can walk into Market Basket and bag groceries for $15 an hour,
Right.
or push carts around the parking lot. And these people are working one-on-one with our children and helping
Right.
educate them. So yeah. And I know there've been questions about when the CBA will be available to be looked at. I'll try to get that to you before the budget hearing so everybody can look at it. And then if you have additional questions at that time, we can take them. I don't know why that's so loud.
Any additional questions on Article 4? Thanks, Matt. We got Article 5.
I mean, I think we can, skip 5, because that's just if Article 4 fails, the school board has the option of having a special meeting to reconsider. Article 6, I will say that came up in our last December meeting with the school board, and that came up in a non-public. And it's really not a renegotiated collective bargaining agreement with the administrators union. The Teamsters this year, for whatever reason, we did not engage in a normal negotiation process with them. And as a result, this is really just a 1-year placeholder. It's really the CBA is not changing for 1 year. They're going to work under the same CBA, the same benefits, the same language in the CBA. It's just really a 2% pay bump for the administrators that the school board agreed to. But I'll read the article. I just want to give you that context, because it's not like other 3-year CBAs that you usually see. So The article states, shall the Sanborn Regional School District approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement for administrators reached between the school board and the Teamsters Local 633, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at current staffing levels over the amount paid in prior fiscal year. So for next year, 25-26, that'd be $26,000, $818. And further to raise and appropriate the sum of 20, should say, I gotta change that. $26,818 for the 25-26, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels. I'll make that one correction. The school board, after discussing this in non-public in December, came out of non-public and approved it. There were 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Due to the small amount, the tax impact for Kingston was 1 cent per thousand, and for Newton, it was 2 cents per thousand. But we'll be negotiating with the Teamsters next fall. Any questions?
So I totally understand about the evaluations on the property values, but do Kingston and Newton equally pay? Is it equal amount? So like I said, this is $26,000. Is each town responsible for half of that? And so the tax rate is based upon the property value?
Yeah. So I've got, I mean, the formula we use a state formula. The state, every district uses the same spreadsheet, if you will, and
Okay.
all and the only difference is really the value, the valuation of the town. What the properties have been valued at in the towns. Kingston, because it's been recently reevaluated, is valued at about, I think, 1.2 trillion, and Newton is about 600
About half.
billion. So it's about half.
Which would theoretically make the tax requirement for each town about equal.
Yeah.
On the property.
Right.
No, I understand about it.
Yeah. So, and yeah.
So the one town doesn't pay more based upon numbers of students or numbers of.
Well, in the,
students. I don't
well,
know.
in the, if you look at the,
There are strange impacts of that, if I recall.
but if we look at the operating budget,
Yeah.
Kingston does share Kingston pays more because they have more kids. Now that the bond is off, and I never really had to fully grasp the apportionment, which is a complicated formula when you have a bond and how much each town pays. And it's also based on how much each town's population is rising or decreasing. I came on board when that was disappearing, so I never had to wrap my brain around it fully. But for the operating budget, Newton's paying about, significantly less than Kingston,
On the number of students,
yes, number of students. Yeah.
some.
That's part of it. There's other things too, though. There's the state aid is different for each town. The adequacy aid, I mean, and I could sit down and I haven't looked at it. I don't have it all fully wrapped in my brain, but there's all the different buckets, and there's other small things like impact fees, and there's all kinds of things that massage the tax rate.
Yep, that's a fine answer. Thank you.
So is the 2% with COLA or is it just 2%?
Just 2%. Yep.
For Article 4, it was like 70 people. How many is it for Article 6? Smaller group?
I want to say 10-ish. I have a spreadsheet of them, but it's approximately 10.
Just for my notes.
Could be could be up to 12, but it's
Other questions on 6?
I guess if you think about what the average administrator makes at 2%, you could probably figure out about how many there are too.
Don't make me do math, Matt. Come on.
I know.
All right. So Article 7 is similar. If 6 is defeated, they can have a meeting. So 8.
Yeah, so Article 8 is the Special Education Expendable Trust Fund. Shall the Sanborn Regional School District vote to raise and appropriate up to $250,000 to be placed in the Special Education Expendable Trust Fund previously established? This sum would come from June 30th fund balance available for transfer on July 1st instead of returning the money to the community to offset taxes. No amount to be raised from additional taxation. The school board voted in favor, 7, 0 opposed, and there would be no tax impact. Although I did watch last year's meeting, and a gentleman stood up and correctly said, if you return the money, then taxes could go down. So I get that, but we do have some stress and strain from special ed. There's more kids being put out, and I don't know if you all watched the board meeting on December 18th, but that was discussed, and it was the feeling of the board that the money was needed to be prepared for that possible spike in special ed costs from having to place kids out, because costs and transportation and tuition have been rising really greatly. So
So I have serious questions about this one.
Mhm.
Because yes, but the fact that it's not been returned to the taxpayers, it is in taxes in effect. Is this in anticipation of additional special ed needs that were not considered when the operating budget was conceived?
this would just be for out of district placements. We have the operating budget is current. What we proposed for the budget and what Dr. Kennett proposed was adequate for what we were forecasting in November and December.
Yes.
But all it takes is a couple of kids to move into district, and you're looking at $500,000, or something. And I don't know. And Mike,
District placement could easily eat up half of this. And there's
Yeah, well, I'm
there's a lot, you know what I mean? So
aware of that and aware of that there are potential new out-of-state placements
mhm.
that could come about. And I'm not sure that all of that, the weight of all of that should be borne by all the taxpayers. It seems like that should be configured some way. It's my own personal feeling on this.
I mean, it's the law though, right?
Yeah.
That we have to pay for it,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
right?
However, at our last meeting, it was decided that, well, we were going to cut 3, never remember,
Oh, yeah.
the specials is what
Unified
we
arts.
call them in Massachusetts, and
The
you call them
UAs, yeah.
something else here. The budget was to cut those 3. And then after appeals from the public, the 3 were put back in. So there are ways of finding monies to cover the things that are required.
My only addition to that, Terry, is they did cut some of them. There were some, we brought some of them back, but not all of them, just to clear the air on that one. So I hear you though. I just
think
want to,
probably bringing those 3 back in probably comes to around.
Well,
so
yeah,
the,
well, more than that actually, but the key also is that this is if Tom were here, he's not with us tonight, but if he were here, I bet he would say that this is just a start to what should be in a fund like this, that he would prefer on the safe side to have $1 million in it. Because is it a rainy day thing? Yes, but it rains quite often in this capacity.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
so
we will present the,
Chip away at
yeah,
that, you
yeah.
know?
So
Right,
that's-
because the fund on the surface is pretty well funded now. It's in a slide coming up, what the current fund balances are, Terry. So you'll see that. But to Micah's point, it can disappear in a hurry.
Right. But I get the
Yeah.
balance of not wanting, because how much we typically return, it's $1 million or so,
Last year was 1.4.
1.4, right?
Yep.
That gets returned to taxpayers at the end of the thing.
Which adjusts the tax rate for the next year. I mean,
Yes,
that all,
normalize.
it's all,
Yeah.
big- it's all a big
Relatively
mush.
Flat, right?
The algorithm, and I understand all of that, but
But yeah, I appreciate the
this
the
seems
concern.
like an amount that should be returned to the taxpayers, and there should be other ways to account required expenses for special.
So. Terry, sorry, anything else? I have a couple things to add. Sorry.
But we're not taking them.
We're not voting
Not taking a vote
tonight.
today.
So
It's good to hear
Yeah.
perspectives.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that in the current operating budget, like in the slides, you'll see there, one of our increases is for special education, a significant amount that we did budget for. There's about 6 or 7 funds that the school has, and we have those account balances in here. And it shows that special education is about 369,000. I think we've asked on more than one occasion, what are the goals, the targets for those? And I know that we don't have exact
and-
numbers. But it's nice to hear that, you know, for the special education, the target for the district would be around $1 million. From Tom or Matt, whoever, and Micah. So, and that's what the funds are for, and we have to fund them some way. So, and this is the way we do it, is through, if we have money left over.
And the other thing is the key wording there is up to 250,000. So let's say let's say at the end of the year, we're at 1.1 million and the board wants to return $1 million to keep taxes flatter. And because what's presented in the warrant articles is kind of worst case scenario for revenues. It doesn't factor in returning money. So like, let's say there's 1.1 million and the board's like, we want to return $1 million. Maybe they retain 100,000 for this.
Right, we don't have to retain.
They don't have to retain 250. It's not 250 or 0. Could be something in between.
Yeah. and that
But
could
that's
be-
up to the
be based
board.
on Whatever realities unfold.
Yeah.
Between now and then, it might not rain.
Right. It might not rain.
It might not rain.
Right.
Good.
My question on this is, will that $250,000 be specifically earmarked for an emergency situation that involves special education needs outside of the district and nothing else?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
And the school board, and only the school board can approve the appropriations. I can't spend the money.
It would be
I'm good.
You're gonna see it on some slides coming up. Good questions. Anything else before we move to the presentation? Matt, do you mind
No, I can pop it up.
display it?
Yeah.
It is a total of 22 slides, guys. And I think
better than last time.
7 of them have already been covered. So it should be,
That projector, something to do. It's been
yeah.
wired. It's been wanting to work.
actually, it just, I'm gonna sneak over here.
Do we have these
That's that
slides?
spot.
Do we have these slides that he's about to show?
So it's in the Google Drive as well.
It is, okay.
You gotta- it's-
Do we have chat function in Google?
yeah, comment function.
I'm like trying to see if I can tag
Hmm.
Terry.
I don't have anything in the Google Drive since December 5th.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So there must
You
not
have
be.
The recent tab, sometimes you can see new.
Funny thing.
Are they?
That recent one.
Oh,
that-
Well, again,
You have
this
it.
is-
So go to shared drives. Budget committee. Click it again. Planning right there, that bottom tab, the school year 2020.
Courtney just tagged her in a
And
comment.
then- think it's under, isn't it?
My goodness,
Yeah, let me click.
I'll
through.
never find this again.
Actually, being your recent, once you find it.
And I just tagged you so you'll get an email.
Okay,
So it's in the budget. There it is, budget hearing presentation. That's it. But when you go back in, if you go to recent, it'll be.
it'll be in the recents. All right. Okay, it'll
Yeah.
be in there. All right. Thank you. I don't think I could repeat that.
No, I'm lost.
So it's, I think it's. And if I touch your computer? Yeah. I'm not touching already.
It's actually not mine, it's the district's.
She actually put it in
So we're gonna
the
vote
budget. She put it in the budget
at
hearing.
that.
Yeah, we have to.
All right.
Or we hold another meeting. I would,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the most efficient way is just public hearing and budget committee meeting.
After the, shouldn't we do it before? Or during?
Let me, at
We'll
some
talk about
point,
that.
yeah.
Because it'd be good for the public to know, right? Like how the.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works.
It also helps to hear what the public has to say before you vote too.
That's also true.
Could go either way. So I will do the first two.
Yeah.
Um,
How are we going through these? 'Cause I've been part of this meeting before. How do you want to handle it, Courtney?
um,
Just go through slide,
yeah, go slide by slide. I'll explain it. I'm not gonna get up. I'm just gonna stand right here. I can, normally Amanda would help out with this, but she's not here, so I'll take the lead on it.
Courtney, do we take suggestions for changes, or because we basically, because you took last year's, tweaked it, and then you and I both put the numbers in and
Yep.
the data for this year.
So it's very similar to what we've done for the past, or as long as I've been here. This will be our third year with this format. We added a couple things. I think there's something I want to chat with Pam about. It's a pretty straightforward presentation, I think. But usually there's a quick intro, and this one here is the budget committee presents to the public, and usually Matt and Tom are around for questions as well. But welcome the public. Kick it off to the next slide. This just talks about the budget process. So school board sets the goals, school admin prepares the budget. They presented the budget to us. We can ask questions. We went back and forth. They provide the responses, and then the school board deliberates and then presents the budget to the budget committee. Should sound familiar because we just wrapped it up. Then we deliberate on the school board's proposal, and things that we consider are impact to our ability to provide a high quality education and maintain the facilities, impact to taxpayers, and any known changes to the district and contract negotiations. And so then we vote on the budget. I added this slide a couple years ago because I'm not sure that everyone knows what's included in the scope of the budget. So it's fund to support pre-K through 12, special education, classroom supplies, books, technology, bus. I mostly read it slide for word, but it includes all of that, compensation for employees, and the other piece is all of the buildings that we maintain. So Bakey, the middle school, high school, Chase Field, the Lee Swayze Gym, the Church Street building, the old middle school building that we are leasing, and the technology needed to support the district. And yeah.
Is Memorial in there?
Forgot Memorial.
How could I forget Memorial?
Okay, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, good catch.
And I will say this year, our what we spend to maintain the old middle school is a fraction what it used to be now that the SCA is there. Pretty much SLC and SCA take care of most of it, but there is a chance because if things are over a certain dollar amount, we have to pay for half. So I think we should keep that in there, maintenance of the old middle school, but it's not what it used to be.
It's still included in the budget though.
Yeah,
It's a revenue,
yep.
like a revenue. So
Yep.
I consider it.
Yeah, no, it should be there. I agree.
Yeah, okay.
But
So
in
do you
terms of
want
the,
maintenance, do you think the maintenance word should change?
We could put an asterisk and say,
Well, it's similar to what you said above, though. Like everything is use and maintenance. So
Okay.
once the support.
or you could do like an asterisk and say less the SLC and SCA contributions.
Yeah.
Where am I trying to say here? When we're talking about the budget, we take into consideration that we're leasing, that we get revenue from the leased building. So they're still in scope of the budget.
Yeah. I think the lease comes up later too.
Oh,
So
I mean, wait a second. Revenue is entirely separate from the budget though, right? Like it's not a, but we might have to spend money on those buildings.
yes.
Yeah.
That building. So I think it should stay there.
Yeah. Just,
Okay.
I would just leave it, Courtney.
The fact
It's
that
fine.
a new building, we might have to spend money on it.
There's another slide that talks about revenue. So
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
coming up later in revenue. You're right.
the old middle school building is impactful to the budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have suggestions on
Think
words.
about it. It could be a talking point.
I am open to suggestions. And then I talk about the 5-year strategic plan and the capital improvement plan. I probably will drop that. We got a new approved capital improvement plan this year, just for people's awareness. And then I get to read the Article 3 word for word. So much fun. This one here, we just want to $40,322,601. That looks to be
That's correct. Yeah.
40.
That's the operating, proposed operating. And then the default is the one after it.
Okay,
40,342,404 is the default. Yep.
beautiful.
Yep. Okay.
Um,
We don't need to read that now. We can
I'm
all.
not, I'm gonna pass on reading it for you guys. All right. This is also something I think is helpful for people to see. And it's a comparison of last year's or our current budget, what was approved and what the proposed budget this year is and what the increase is. So it's the proposed operating budget is a 0.25% increase over the current, and the default budget is a 0.3% increase over the current budget. And the proposed operating budget is $19,803 less than the default. Do we think this is value added?
I think that absolutely. I mean, I do, but I'll listen to.
Okay.
We
Well,
go with-
last year, having, because Courtney and I edited this, the 0.25% last year was like 3.6%, or
Mhm.
it was a significant number. So that's, yeah, I think I agree with Micah. This is a key slide.
Anybody else feel differently? There's some very strong yeses. Any? Okay.
That's very important, especially the bottom line. To show
Okay. All right.
The operating is less than the default.
Appropriately.
Because this is our story. I'm saying it, but I want to make sure that, yeah, everyone's on board. Okay. Check. So budget considerations. This is also something I am looking for some, feedback on things that we considered. So something that was mentioned during the superintendent's presentation is this budget cycle is not impacted by the Fremont exit, but that is coming. The high school building debt is paid off. We have rental revenue from the lease of the former middle school. We had the last year's collective bargaining agreement that's in place. And there was lots of talks about during the presentation about funding for technology upgrades, funding our facilities maintenance and improvement projects. And there was also in this budget considerations for changes to staffing due to the declining enrollment. Anything else that we thought we would like to highlight from what we discussed?
Are you anticipating questions from an audience on how I can tell you there's two of them up there that are going to be quite the first one, how are you going to explain to the residents that the fact that Fremont is leaving and that has no impact on the budget cycle? Is it the timing? I mean, I guess I'm sort of being devil's advocate here because I know that question's coming up.
Yeah, so it's not this budget cycle. So next budget cycle,
The students haven't started leaving.
yeah,
yet.
sorry. He's doing a better job.
Yeah, Fremont sending, yeah.
So they haven't started leaving or not, they're still here. And so next year will be the year where that
So
changes.
are you taking the questions?
It's,
from-
it can be anybody in the, like Matt can answer it, Tom can
Okay.
answer it, I can answer it. Usually when someone asks, we kind of like look around and say,
Your
who's
answer was
who's
spot on.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Terry, next fall's the last year Fremont sends us ninth graders. That's why
And they
this
stop.
is the last budget that's not
And then
impacted by Fremont.
It'll be a phased out approach, right? The students that are still here.
Oh, sure.
They
You're
stop,
going to allow the
continue and
students
finish,
to continue,
right?
of course.
Yeah, and then, so the impact will increase year over year until they're all gone.
Do we think the fourth one just has to be clarified that it's the professional staff CBA from last year, or
Yep, let me fix
Just-
that.
I just don't want people to think that what's in this year's warrant articles is in place.
Profession.
Or you could put maybe March 20th, 20, I don't know.
March 2024.
And it was the professional staff CBA, but
I'm making it real time, but it doesn't.
here, me.
March 2024, voter approved professional staff collective bargaining agreement changes are in place.
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right. What was your other one, Terry?
Oh, the last one, the changes in staffing due to declining enrollment. I'm sure that people would like to know more about that, but I guess what is your response to that?
Yep.
Have there been changes in staffing?
Yep. And I think Tom has the exact number
Yeah.
that of
Okay.
positions. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I would
Tom and I can speak to that as to,
expect
Yep.
more exact answers.
yep.
Anything else people think we could add that we think we want to flag with the public? All right, let's move to the next one. So, did you add the revenue back in?
I added it back in. Just,
Okay.
I don't know if, well, we don't have to read it all. I think it's nice to see it because that was in Tom's presentation.
Was it? Okay.
But
I
don't think we don't need to read them, but that's where the 6.2 million comes from.
Yeah.
Unless you want me to get rid of it.
I got rid of it, but it's okay that it goes back in. Because doesn't matter. So this slide talks about the allocations for the proposed operating budget, and it breaks it down by, like Matt was talking about earlier, about the adequacy grant, our local revenues, and then what is actually going to come from tax revenue. So 77.31% is going to be from taxes. And then the rest of it comes from other sources. So, and this is the breakdown of the revenue. And the adequacy grant, I know I've asked about this, but that's something that we kind of find out along the way. Like, it's not a standard number. It's something that the state.
Oh, right. It's an estimate. That's their estimate at the moment. And they come up with a final one later. Right. Yep. That's like their best guess at the moment. That's why it's estimated. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't read the detail of the estimated revenue, but I think it's good to see. I mean, because if you pay attention to like previous years, you'll see that like the Fremont's enrollment's gone down too. So that tuition at the top is really Fremont. And it was over $4 million at one point, but their enrollment's going down too. So we have fewer Fremont kids. They're paying less tuition.
All right. Questions on this one? Yeah.
We were talking about this at the town budget meeting the other night. A lot of taxpayers don't understand that the budget might look large, but we have to spend money to receive a grant money to reimburse ourselves. So when they see a large budget, they don't understand the fact that you have to spend to receive grants.
Right.
You see, so
Yeah.
it might look bigger than it actually is for the taxpayers. So we're getting $1 million bridge from the feds. It's in the budget, but it'll be reimbursed.
Hmm.
But we have to spend it as a line item in order to be reimbursed for the money.
These are all low
A
ball.
lot of people don't, they only see the total budget.
These are all conservative estimates.
Right.
They should be higher, but we have to go conservative. You know, the one point something million would go here. If we, whatever we return would kind of go in that bucket.
Well, I mean, just on the face of it too, very few people, I would imagine, see 40 million in the Warren article, or 39, what is it? Sorry, 40 million in the Warren article, when, and then realize that they're only on the hook for 31 or so of that, right? Like their taxes, but the impact actually adds up to 31 million or so, right? That's a good story to tell,
Yep. Good idea. Let me.
big red flashing light, you pay this, circle around.
Of the 40 million, 31. And
It
it's
says the estimated state and local property tax revenue for the 31 million. State, you get state reimbursements for that 31 million, or that's strictly the local property
It's
taxes?
that swept tax. Like it all gets tweaked a little bit. It's like they give you estimates now, but again, I'm running through my first cycle with this, but they tweak the numbers based on state revenues and other things. I'll know the lingo better in time, but it's not finalized. It's too early from the finalize of state revenues and everything.
So
now.
what's the difference between, this is just me not understanding this at all. So what's the difference between what you're calling state tax revenue and estimated adequacy?
Well, that is me.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Hey,
That's all right.
yes.
That's, I'm just,
There's Terry, you and I could sit down and show you that. It'd
Okay.
be easier if I showed you on the spreadsheet and it'd just be a little, I think it'd be kind of confusing now, but I'm happy to sit down and explain it to you.
okay.
Just kind of challenging here.
Matt Angel about that every 2 weeks. He would tell me the answer. I still couldn't hold it in my head.
So, and if I'm sure Newton is similar, like if you go on the Kingston website, it breaks out what the state tax rate is and what the school tax, like it breaks it down by state and school. So it also is there, but the adequacy aid, the adequacy grant, I will lean on that for that. But it is broken up, but for the sake of this presentation, I just combined it all together.
Well, we could say too, at a very high level, the adequacy grant is money that we as taxpayers don't have to pay. And the bottom line. is
Local
what we
taxpayers
do.
don't have to pay. It's coming from the state somehow.
If you're pure per pupil, you get money per pupil, you get money for kids who get free and reduced,
That's what's all.
special ed kids. So it's this big formula, like that's why our data has to be accurate. Like if you don't accurately report the number of kids who are free and reduced, like let's say we have a lot of, let's say a certain percentage of our community doesn't apply for free and reduced. We're losing out on X thousands of dollars per kid from state aid, or if we have kids who should be special ed, or actually that's a bad way to word it, but every student who's special ed, we get a chunk of money from the state too. So it all creates this adequacy grant here from the state.
Okay.
There's different buckets that dump into it.
I think it'll be good homework for us to freshen up our adequacy grant
Yes, I
lingo. Even like you said, I
can do that.
can also do it.
Yeah.
The one thing, am I just not seeing it? Where is the middle school? Are we not considering that revenue? Did I make that up?
Well, that goes into that separate fund. That doesn't go into the general fund.
I
We
just
can only
forgot.
spend that on,
Yep.
and the board can authorize that, right?
Yep.
You-
That makes sense. I just totally forgot. So,
Any of those revenues, they go into the facility revolving use fund that we end up spending on our facilities, but we can't guarantee, like, yeah.
yep, okay. I,
And it can't get returned to the taxpayers either. It just sits in that, we end up spending it because we have so many facility needs, and other needs that,
I forgot.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding
that's
me.
okay.
Okay. Estimated tax rates.
Yeah, so this did not have the default on it, because last year the proposed and the default were almost like, I think they were identical.
They were.
They're like off by like. And it was ridiculously close. And these are almost identical. So it shows the tax impact. For $1,000 assessed value for Newton and Kingston for the proposed and default budgets. Which is what's on the warrant articles. Coming up in a bit.
And this is the total amount on the warrant article. If I remember, it's only the it's the
It's only the,
increase, right? So it looks like 7 cents, 12 cents. What is
So
it?
this is the total amount then.
this is the.
Total amount.
This is the worst case scenario. We spend all of our money, our revenues are poor, we don't return any money to the taxpayers. This is like, this would be the worst case scenario for the taxpayer.
And the warrants get approved. And the warrants, as stated, are approved. So
Yeah.
the small amounts that you had listed for the warrant articles are included in this number.
Yes, yes.
All of them?
No, just for the operating and
just
default
the-
budget,
This
Just
is
the
just
operating.
Article 3.
just our,
Oh, so it didn't include these
Right,
others?
that's why,
Okay.
sorry,
it's
thanks.
just Article 3.
This
Okay.
confused, oh, sorry. I
Mhm.
didn't mean to confuse it even more, but on the article, it's the increase from current. This one here is the total for
This
just
is
the operating and the default.
Estimated tax rates for. Proposed
Operating budget.
default budget.
Yep.
And Article 3 parenthetical maybe.
Article 3, right?
So that doesn't include 4, 6, and
Correct.
well, the 8 isn't going to have an impact.
So this, yeah, so
Those 2 cents here,
Mhm.
all those 12 cents here or there.
So normally I don't read off the exact amounts. I usually do for the proposed operating budget in Newton, it'll be a $270 increase for proposed operating or $275 for the default. And for Kingston, it'll be a 470, not that much. And a 475 for the default. So I just give a quick summary of those two things.
Estimated tax. Should we say tax?
Text, what are you looking for?
Impact?
Impact, right?
Okay.
Tax impact.
So when we say plus 270, we mean over
Just
the current,
Over,
present.
yes.
Yes. On a home that's appraised at $500,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
I usually say all of that. I was trying to cut it back.
Yeah, yeah.
If you guys want me to practice fully, I will. Sorry. I just don't usually go, it's $12.44 per thousand.
Terry, would you like us to put an asterisk at the bottom that says does not factor in articles?
Says up at the top, it says.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Change
Yep.
it, yeah.
That's good.
It's a good call out.
Yep. It's a good catch because I look at this stuff every day, so I don't catch things like that. So it's good. Yeah, I know last year because I watched the meeting, a gentleman stood up and asked Matt to clarify estimated and how, again,
It's tough.
this would be worst case scenario. So hopefully this is not the tax increase you all see because we're able to return money. Revenues come in better than our low balls. And this is just kind of like worst case scenario, because we don't want to paint a rosy picture and then, under deliver with our taxpayers.
How do we feel? I'm ready to move on.
Oh, sorry.
Nope,
Sorry,
Mike is not.
I'm not, just because if okay, is anybody seeing what people might see? You've got a higher, someone's gonna look and
So they're
say,
gonna say Newton and Kingston,
someone's
yeah.
gonna say 21 times 1,000. I'm sorry, 21 times
50,000,
500.
500,000.
No, they're gonna,
Yep, yeah, yes.
21 times 500 is X, right?
Yes.
And someone else is gonna say 12 times 500 is Y. Why is, if Kingston's rate is low in the 12s, why does it equal so much more money for a $500,000 house? I know why, but we're gonna have to explain it.
And somebody asked, I think is what.
Someone's gonna ask this.
Yeah, it's about the valuations of them.
What else comes down to? This
Because we say it's a-
everything.
It's
Number
the
of
assessed,
students.
the assessed
Right.
value of homes is
But-
arbitrary.
Yeah, and it's not the assessed value of a $500,000 home. It's of all the homes combined.
Right, but this actually factors in state adequacy,
Yeah, and other things.
number of students. So like Kingston has more students than Newton, and now the bonds off, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you're right though, Micah.
Someone could look at this and be like, this doesn't make any sense.
It's, yeah, because it makes it look simple, and it's not simple.
Right,
It's not a simple arithmetic problem.
right.
So yeah, I'll have to really be prepared to answer that. Because it's a really complicated formula, actually.
Right. It's mind numbing.
I know. And my predecessor, Matt, would explain it in a way that he was above most of us in his explanation. So, Micah, do you think we have to tweak this or just be prepared to
I
answer it?
don't, I mean, it's all correct. So I
You
just
have
think
somebody from Kingston question that.
yeah. Because on the face of it, it looks like they're getting charged less per $1,000 of assessed value. And they're not gonna see that
Right.
we're.
So, for instance, and actually, Mike, I can speak to this because I live one town over. We were just reassessed. So our mill rate was like $29 per thousand.
Mhm.
It just went down to like 14, but my property values are doubled. So, or actually more than doubled. So our tax bill actually went up.
Yeah.
So even though our mill rate in, I'll say it on camera, Exeter is closer to Kingston's now, it's not in the upper 20s. My property taxes went way up, like $500 a year. Even though, and there are other towns in SAU 16 whose mill rates are more like Newton's or higher, and the impact on their taxes is less.
Well, if I only looked at the left side, I could say, yeah, Kingston's $12 is less than Newton's 21, but Kingston's assessments went up. That makes sense.
They reassessed recently, yeah.
But when I look at the right side, it looks like we're looking at it apples to apples because they're all assessed at 500,000.
Right. And last year, because I asked Matt Angel about this, last year I think he said he put 358,000 here for Newton, and it confused everybody.
Oh,
So he said leave it at 500 because people were confused as to why it was 358.
Because those are equivalent numbers.
Those are the actual equivalents.
Right. That's a very.
And that actually caused more confusion
Yeah,
for people. Like,
Can't win.
why? So he said just keep it at 500 this year.
Yeah,
But you're right, Michael. I have to be prepared to answer this. So yeah.
right.
That's
Do you
good.
think it answers more questions or brings up more questions?
Well, it needs to be there.
Yeah,
It's important for people to know that would be I keep saying it, worst case scenario for a tax increase next year. things don't go as we expect them to go.
We do have room in the Newton and Kingston bars
Yeah.
to put something like a couple of bullets maybe that explain, I don't know. I want to think how to do it. Like,
I mean, the simple, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, is just that the home valuations between Kingston and Newton are not equivalent.
You
So
can't take it.
it's,
but we're showing for somebody, for the uninitiated, we're showing two equivalent home valuations at 500,000.
because you have to pick a number.
I know.
And I think it used to be like 200 or 300,000, and I was like, I don't know if
We just have to, how to explain that a lesser number per thousand could equal more money if Newton and Kingston homes are both at 500,000. In Kingston, less equals more. How?
People should understand that an assessment of 500,000 in Kingston is not the same as assessment 500,000 in Newton. And that's basically what you're arguing here. Assessment is not how
Well, Newton must be reassessing soon,
value.
though.
I think they're going to.
Probably because it's supposed to be every 5 years.
I think they're about to.
Yeah, I mean,
That's going to change that. whole
is
thing.
it,
Assessed
think
value
that's
is
it
not
right
the
there.
same as a valuation of your home.
Right.
right? So that's the note, I think. Home valuation and Kingston are not equivalent. That at least gives us a way to start the conversation, or somebody can understand, okay, there's something going on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just being really, really picky on that very last line, which I think was good that you put in there. Should it say assessments in Kingston and Newton are not equivalent rather than valuations? I don't know.
I don't know what the right word is either.
I thought it was valuations, but maybe I'm home
You
assessment.
can tweak that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know we got something though.
I was looking at that today.
There you go.
And
Any of those things?
we'll wordsmith it.
Pam, do you have any idea? Is there a better word? Put you on the spot. If you don't have anything, it's okay.
Well, they read.
It's the 500,000 that's just gonna confuse people.
It's like, you're saying my 500,000 is worth less than somebody
Yeah,
else's,
this.
right? Like, it's because there's a percentage, right? Like, it's like 78% in Newton right now versus the 100 that
Whatever it is,
whatever that.
I know
Kingston
that
just-
we're up for new
And the
assessments.
term is reassessment, like the municipalities have to reassess every 5 years. Or within a 5-year period. But
I don't know how
let's just
to.
leave it like that.
That,
for now. We can
that's,
we
that
can-
does it.
I was reading the website, the state website today. We'll tweak it, Courtney.
Okay, perfect.
Just gotta get it close now and.
And we have one more shot. This is our shot before the deliberative too. Oh no. Okay.
This is for next Thursday, right?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
saying that we can, if we have to make another
Oh, yeah.
change for the deliberative, we can. If people are super confused, maybe we can come up with another way of doing it.
Oh.
But take a stab at it, Matt.
I'll take a stab at that. Also, I'll have an explanation that I'll come up with a layman's explanation, because oftentimes my predecessor would go into the collegiate, professor explanation, and
Huh.
even I'd go get glossed over.
All right.
Okay.
What's up next?
Oh, was this Pam's slide last year?
Yes.
Mhm.
Do we want to do this again? I would need some help with it. But I think this was really great last year, where we showed that our changes were less than the inflation rate. But I would want to update it for new information.
You can use the same slide.
Okay.
It's okay.
We just add a line.
Do we want to add a line? It probably makes sense to update it, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I think we did add a line. We added 23-24. I actually added that data in.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we don't have
24.
24-25 yet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So that's as far as we
We
can
can, and
go.
we can note that this year's total appropriations change for the proposed budget is less than 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it 0.25?
Right.
2.5. Yep.
And inflation is certainly going to be way above 2.5% this year, or 0.25% this year.
0.25.
Yeah. So,
Pam, do you feel comfortable speaking to this one again?
Sure, I can do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
okay.
All right. So last slide for the endorsement of the proposed operating budget. This is also something that we can tweak a little bit, but we believe it provides sufficient use of funds for all the needs of the students while minimizing impact of inflation, increased costs for special education, health insurance, transportation, and utilities, supports the district's initiatives for improving academics, accounts for student enrollment decline, and supports capital improvements. It was recommended by the budget committee, 4 in favor, 2 against, 1. We just say abstain. Yeah.
Yeah, abstention. Yeah, abstained. Or yeah.
I was like, is there what's the right word? I'll look it up. School board 601 and the school admin.
Are we good with that slide?
I am. I mean, I don't know if anybody has anything they want to add, similar to the what did we consider? All right, silence means agreement. Here we go.
Then I'll talk about this one. This is the same thing. Yeah. Well, I mean, Courtney, we can divide because, when I watched last year's, I feel like you and Dan had divided up the first, I don't know, half dozen slides, and then Matt certainly went through the default budget, which is, this has already been explained to the public once, but this is a quick explanation. And then it was also actually part of Tom Ambrose's initial budget presentation in November, how the default was calculated. So this is almost, it wasn't cut and pasted because it was a different presentation, but I can speak to this, this is the current year budget that was voted on in March, the operating budget, staff, professional staff CBA, that got us to the current budget of $40,222,033. And then how this year's default budget was calculated. Basically, all, and per the previous slides, any contractual agreements, contracts, things like that. What led to the default budget being $120,000 and $120,371 above the current year budget, which is the point. Actually, that's not 2.25%. That's 0.3%. Were these contractual obligations listed? The employment contracts, which were the CBA, and then we had a 15% bump in health insurance, which has been really unheard of in this district. And the risk management pool we're in with school care, they've never seen a jump like that. So hopefully it's a one-time thing. And then Courtney, I don't know, are we going to want to talk about, well, I guess this is just how the default was calculated. How much detail do we want to go? How much detail did Matt go in on this last year?
So
I don't remember.
some people had questions. I wouldn't go line by line. I would just summarize. I think I would say
These are our
the debt
contractual
service-
obligations.
Yep. And it shows the increases, decreases. The total increase is the 120,
Yep.
371. I feel pretty strongly about this. The default budget is not a budget committee.
Yeah.
We are not a part of this at all. And so I would rely on like Micah or you, Matt, or Tom or somebody to talk through this because this is not
Yeah.
our realm of.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate, it's just contractual obligations and it
Yeah.
was 120,000 plus over the current operating for these reasons.
And this is, but I also asked for this a few years ago. Like, so, I do want to keep it.
Yep. Which leads to the default budget. Current year plus contractual. And then here's the slide that we were talking about earlier during the warrant articles. This is as of November 30th. This is something that I report out to Finance and Facility Committee once a month. These are our five really funds that that we have. You know, I guess the contingency fund counts too, but I just don't report that out because it was approved by the school board. But
So the contingency fund, so for this one here, the contingency fund is the money that's left over that the school board chooses to keep.
2%.
2%. Yep. So I would just say for the RSA, the 2.5%. And then I would just say, these are our account balances. I'm pretty sure people ask like, what's your goal? What's your target? What's the plan? And I think so just be prepared for that. That's one question I've heard frequently. But yep.
He may want me to comment on the fact that one of the warrant articles, number whatever, 7 or whatever, addresses the first one.
Special ed.
Yeah. Article
The one that would add
8.
the 250 up to 10.
And this is the one that's changes monthly based on rentals of SCA, SLC, building rentals, but then also gets depleted by expenditures that the Facility and Finance Committee authorizes. So if we have to repair a roof for $50,000, we might take it out of that fund.
And was previously often depleted by technology or other whatever, but now have a line.
My only other ad, just because I was around for it, the unanticipated utility costs is a relatively new one that we rolled out, right?
When was that?
It's, I think, my first year. So it was 3 years ago.
I think it was here already when I got here. I
Okay.
think.
If we didn't have end of year surplus, we'd be
Yeah.
periodically. I know we would have tapped it last year for fuel oil because last year there wasn't enough money budgeted for fuel oil, but they just got authorization to take it from surplus rather than tapping it.
Okay.
This year we got a great price on electricity, so we're not going to need this for electricity because we get like a rate 25% lower than last year on electricity. So,
I get that.
So I guess my
I locked in it.
message for this one is just how we use that fund, how we use the funds. I would, as you mentioned, talk about the special education one that we have warrant article 8 that we'll talk about later. And leave it at that.
yeah, I don't remember.
Together-
Oh, sorry, Pam.
If you add the special ed together with the contingency fund, which is available for special ed unexpected costs, you get your $1 million. I'm just gonna put that out. I know he wants to increase special ed to $1 million, but you actually have $1 million right there for emergencies. Just gonna say.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of for that $500,000 slide is to
Mhm.
put at the bottom, Kingston has more homes above 500,000 than Newton has. And Newton's homes are lower than, because
Because the
the same
assessment.
house is now worth twice as much in Kingston as it is in Newton, because we've been reassessed.
Yeah, so we
That
don't,
makes sense.
we may just say, like,
Make it more confusing.
well, I don't know, because
It's
maybe we
the
don't say for a
assessment.
500,000, we could say for an equivalent
Right.
house with that.
That might be
makes sense,
better,
you
yeah.
know?
I'm gonna
We'll
come up with some.
brainstorm
language
some
for
stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I'll get some language.
But if you have fewer homes over 500,000, you're gonna pay more per.
Per home
house.
has, right. Or maybe we associate it to the total of the assessed value.
This isn't a tax accounting class, really. It's-
Right.
It can be confusing.
Well, the other fact is like when Newton reassesses, people's property values are gonna go up and then that rate.
But that rate's
is
gonna go down.
And it's getting
Exactly.
closer to Kingston, and then it's gonna make more sense.
Then that slide will shine. That'll be the day.
That's why I'm happy about it. Yeah, Courtney, I don't know if you know, but Tom's been out sick all week, so he and I haven't reviewed these yet, so he
Okay,
and I are gonna review these on Monday or Tuesday, so.
fair
I know
enough.
he's passionate about some of these things, so he'll be prepared to speak about these fund balances too.
Okay. Well, and then I think it moves into
Yeah, so really at this point,
articles.
and I think last year, if I remember, Matt kind of paraphrased these. Because I don't know, he didn't feel like he needed to read them word for word, but I don't know,
Sure about that?
I do.
Okay.
So I remember Dan Guide saying something, and I don't want to throw Dan out there, he's not here to defend himself, but he was like, yeah, we don't need you to read it word for word. It was actually kind of funny. I can read a word for word though, I don't mind.
No,
People can read the slides themselves.
So yeah, it's just the warrants that we've talked about. Tax impacts. And then I think it's next steps, right, Courtney?
yeah. So I think those slides, default budget, the warrant articles, are with you, and then I would just end it with, next session is the deliberative. And the school board and the budget committee will present the budget and the warrant articles to be voted on in March. March 11th is voting. And do we know if it's at the high school or Swayze?
We haven't, we were asked, but, I think nothing's been approved yet. And also may have been due to the fact that Tom's been sick and literally not in the district, working remotely and.
So
I
if,
don't- the turnout the way, I think they're leaning towards Swayze, but I don't know. Tom hasn't had conversations with the town, so I'm not sure. That's gonna have to get resolved early this week though, or maybe not. TBD.
You just said due to turnout, might be back at Swayze. Was the turnout poor for our class past?
Well, I meant for the presidential
It
election.
was
Right,
pretty-
was it
It was-
poor?
Oh, well, usually the presidential elections generate much more traffic. Yeah, there's much more.
So basically my question is, this past presidential election versus the one prior to that, was the turnout worse here at the high school than it was at Swayze Gym?
I don't know if we know the answer. I think that for local elections though, it's a lot less than the presidential. That's what
Hmm.
they're.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, we know that.
But,
Yeah.
That's what he means, though.
and the other
Well,
issue.
my point is, what I'm trying to get at is more people gonna come out if we have it at the high school here, or,
Oh, I see.
you know what I'm saying?
I don't know if
No.
we can tell.
No.
Well, if we look at the numbers for how many people came out at this last presidential election versus the presidential election before that, that will give us an idea of how many people are gonna come out versus, high school versus Swayze Gym then. That gives us a comparison right there.
Yeah, I mean,
So if we saw 20% more people came out and voted because it was at the high school, then my suggestion is we have it at the high school.
Yeah.
So,
And more people registered to
Yeah.
vote as well, so.
yeah, I mean, there
More
may be other
registered
factors,
voters now.
true.
Yeah.
but we got nothing else to go on, so might as well go on that.
Okay,
Again, I'll back on this, so
all right.
I'll have that on
Yeah, it could be.
to-do list.
So my only for the articles, and we can look back. But I would like to mention that we do for Article 1 that we have
Okay.
6 open positions that we need to get voted in.
Should we add Article 1?
Please.
Yep.
All right.
Right, yeah.
How are we feeling, budget committee?
Tired.
Fair enough. It's been
No,
a long
got
day.
you have a good handle on it. Yeah.
All right. So again, I'm gonna chat with Matt and Tom to figure out, do we vote before, after, and the logistics of the meeting, but let's plan on voting on the warrant articles after the meeting next week.
Good.
So that we can have those for the deliberative. And Matt, do we think there's a form that we need to sign?
The MS 27, we'll have to sign next Thursday. It's the form for the estimated budget, and it also includes the proposed operating budget, and it also includes the warrant articles.
Okay.
And it has
Can,
to be uploaded to the DRA, but it's mostly done. I just gotta finish entering all the data into the state system and then print it off. And you guys just sign it.
okay. Can you, when you have that done, can you just send it to us? Can you send it? Or is it?
I
If
mean,
you
I
can
could
send it,
PDF it.
yeah, PDF. If you don't mind PDFing it so I can look at it ahead of time, that would be greatly appreciated. And so we'll plan voting, signing the form, and then we should be all set from there.
On to the deliberative.
Yes. All right.
What's next on?
Um, any public comment? Committee comments. Brooke,
I'm good.
all right. Micah,
Good.
Terry.
Nope, you've covered it very well.
All right. I'm all set. Pam.
I have a comment.
All right.
I have an idea.
Uh-huh.
How about if we put at the bottom of that page, Newton's total assessed value is half or 60% that of Kingston's.
Right.
Get the
Okay.
percentage?
Yeah, I can give you.
That might make.
Yep. It's actually, I
See
can
what I'm saying?
Yep.
actually do the,
So it's a double hit because maybe you've got the same size house, but the total values.
Right.
see, I'll just, let me do a quick.
That's-
I usually have these brilliant ideas on the way home, so let I drop that. And I am listed as abstain from voting on the budget number, but what's the last day to, if I want to revote? Say, is that?
Do that.
We can. We can vote after public hearing, and I think we could vote again after.
That would be the last time?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah, let me.
I did look at the Sanborn Independent Auditors Report. The most recent one is from last March, I guess. The next one's coming up this coming March. And because I have no life, I
Oh, none of that.
noticed that there's a
I'll pass
note
on.
on most of these reports about contingent liabilities, and it states that litigation, there are various claims and suits pending against the district, which arise in a normal course of the district's activities. In the opinion of the district management, any potential claims against the district which are not covered by insurance are immaterial and would not affect the financial position of the district. So I have concerns about whether our legal services line item of 100,000 is sufficient for the coming year. And that's why I abstain from voting, yes or no at this time. But if I have more specific information and that line item's fine, then I'll vote yes. That's all I'm saying about my vote currently.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Pam. Thank you for printing this out for us.
Sure.
All right. And so next meeting, next week, January 16th, 7 PM at the auditorium. And then here it says our budget committee meetings at 8 after.
Wait, the 16th? Is it in the auditorium or here? Last year was in here.
No, it's always been in.
It was in here last year.
Hmm.
I watched the video. The budget hearing? Yeah.
All right.
The guy who wasn't here watched the actually, and because I think there were only 3 members of the public who came last year. So I don't know.
Okay. You're right.
You're probably not going to get many people coming out now that there is no longer a newspaper that comes out and tells people what's going on. Don't have any idea what's happening, which is unfortunate.
We're okay with the library,
Yeah.
even the
I
delivery.
think I know that Phyllis is counting the library. She asked me today, she goes, is the budget hearing still gonna be in the library? And I said, yeah, but
Right. I will, quick note to her to, update any of our postings to make sure it aligns. All right. With that, 8:29, I'm going to call an end to the Sanborn Regional School District Budget Committee meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today and for your comments and feedback. Much appreciated.